If you're new to Amazon KDP or you're struggling to see good results with your book, then this video is perfect for you. So today I'm going to review book listings from our author community and do a real deep dive to see all the missed opportunities, all of the mistakes that need to be fixed, and all the things that are preventing them from ranking higher on Amazon and getting more organic sales. So if this is something that you're interested in, make sure to stick around and let's get right into this video. Okay, and just quickly, in case you're new to the channel, Cleo and I have sold over 240,000 books between our different Amazon KDP accounts. And we have a free Amazon Facebook group with 230,000 members. And with our self-publishing Titans tools, we have helped over 300,000 authors publish their books on Amazon. So that's just a bit about us. All right, so let's look at the first book here. And we're going to use the self-publishing Titans Chrome extension to help us analyze this listing. And right at the top, we can see that they have a bestseller rank of almost 2 million. And obviously, the higher the number, the worse the sales. So and we can also see here that they're not getting any sales currently. So let's see all the reasons that this could be to help them get more sales. All right, so the title and subtitle says Mommy and Me Micro Moments, Nurturing Faith, Sharing Laughs. So this title, I mean, it's clean, but it's super, super short. And the main thing that we're missing here is a great niche. So what's the main keyword we're targeting here? 35 Day of Faith-filled activities, bedtime routine, so silly games, creative activities, moments, simple prayers. Okay, so this almost sounds like maybe it's an activity book, but it's a little bit hard to tell. I guess I would have to read the whole thing here. So in the A+ content. Okay, so I guess the first thing for me, just glancing at this listing, it's hard for me to tell exactly what this is. I think it's an activity book, but I'm still not 100% certain that's exactly all it is. So I feel like this is a slightly missed opportunity just to make it really clear what the book is about and everything about it. So that's something that could also have been in the subtitle, and definitely near the top it should have 5 bullet points that list out all the things the book is about. So there's no questions, no mysteries, and no possible misunderstandings. So I think that's already important. Obviously, someone else might have a better idea than me, but so that's one thing I would change. And then looking at your back cover, since it does have some activities and some simple prayers, maybe you can show some of the activities and one of the prayers in there, just so right at the top, a potential buyer can already see what this book is about. So I think that would be a slight improvement. Maybe remove the section about yourself and some of this text and rather just have some images and one of these prayers. And I think that would be a nice improvement. This is definitely not bad. And then just looking at the cover quality here. So Mommy and Me, Micro Moments, and a Nurturing Faith and Sharing Laughs. So it sounds nice and it looks okay, but what I'm not the biggest fan of is that the text in the first line is touching the and symbol. So it's just a little bit misaligned here. It's also touching here, so it's just a little bit tight. And then we have different font colors. So there's one font color here, and it looks like we have like a brown or orange outline and just capitalized words, but then here we have all caps, and then here we have all lowercase. So it's also like slightly inconsistent. And I think if we all had potentially uppercase letters only, that would look slightly more consistent. And then I also think that there's too many colors. So here we have like a blue-gray, here we have a darker gray, here we have a green. And it looks like there's also maybe a yellow outline or a gray or another green. And then here we have a medium gray, and then here we have orange, white, and kind of a blue-gray. So it's just too many colors. And then this looks like is maybe the same as Mommy, but I'm not quite sure. And then one thing here that I also noticed is that it's slightly off center for the author name. Here it looks like there's a little bit more space on the left side than on the right side. And usually the author name doesn't have to be the same font as the title, and it could be smaller. So I would probably make that smaller and then make it less noticeable and give more attention to the main image here. So it doesn't draw as much attention to the text, and just making slight adjustments to that. But but I really like the image that you chose. I like the heart shape that's on top of the hands. So overall, I do think this is a nice cover. These are just smaller critiques that I think could just make it even nicer. So worth trying that out. And then for your description, here we have 4 bullet points. I would have 5. And then once again, just the key things about the book. So it's very clear what it is. And while looking at the description, just a small thing here, there's no space between these words. So obviously having perfect consistency is a good thing to have. Let's look at your A+ content. So I like the fact that you're showing yourself. There's a really nice image, nice and happy, so that's cool. And then we're showing the book here again, but obviously the cover we have already seen. So for my personal preference, there's a little bit too much text here and not enough images. So what I would like to see is maybe a mom and a daughter image. So it's like a bit of a lifestyle image. And then also maybe you can show a prayer in there and some of the activities that are in there. You mentioned that there are silly games, so I would show at least one of the silly games. I would show one of the creative activities. And then what kind of moments are guaranteed, maybe show that. So I think that would be really, really good for your A+ content, just to show your creative work and all the hard effort you put into this book. I think display it proudly so everyone else can see it. And the more you can show about your book, the more chances you have of getting sales. So I think that will really help you. So looking at the categories, children's Christian humor could be okay, but I'm not too sure if humor is the best because it feels like it's more activity related. So maybe there's one that suits even more. If not, this one is not wrong, but I'm just curious if there's an even better one. And then here, children's again and children. So the fact that we have 3 children categories, I'm not the biggest fan of just because it's mommy and me. So maybe there can also be one that's like a mother category or parenting category. I think that'd be good also for the Amazon algorithm to even better understand what your book is about. Because if you just look at the categories, it feels like it's just a children's book, but it's kind of for both. So I feel like that's something that's a slight miss here. And then we have children's holiday books. So I'm not really sure that this is the best one because it didn't seem like it was holiday themed. It's not a bad category, but I'm just curious if there's an even better one that matches the contents of your book even more. And since we do have activities and religious kind of books, I would see if there's categories in those that could suit you. But once again, these are just slight improvements. Overall, this is not terrible either. So we're just looking at all the little things we can do, because if many little things are improved, that starts adding up to a lot. Here we have 9 reviews, all 5 stars. So great job for having 5-star ratings and 9 reviews. Reviews are definitely getting more and more important. And then here, once again, we have your great profile picture. It looks really full of life and happy, which is awesome. And then here we have a nice long description. And then I like that you also say that you're an award-winning author, which is really cool. I feel like that's also something that could potentially be mentioned in the A+ content. And then I just noticed here we also have another space missing. So just check your entire description just to make sure there's nothing else missing. Overall, I think we're doing good. I think you have a nice book, beautiful idea. It looks like it's high quality, really creative. And the main thing that's really missing is just the keywords, and then just slight adjustments here and there to just give it an overall better listing. So I hope that is helpful for you, and I wish you the best of luck. And let's go on to the next one. So here we have a cookbook, which I'm really excited about. I think this might be the first one in the series. And Cleo and I actually started off making cookbooks ourselves. That's how our journey kind of started for Amazon KDP. I guess we did a meal plan book. That was our first book and actually did really, really well. And once we had success on that, we kind of went all in on Amazon KDP. So that was the beginning of our journey. So I like cookbooks a lot. So let's see what we can find here. So we can see already that this book has a bestseller rank of 100,000. So we are making money, which is great. So let's see what we can do to make this even better. So looking at the title here, Super Easy Crockpot Cookbook for Beginners. So really happy with the title. We have a nice long tail keywords. So good job on that. 2,200. I guess my preference would just be a comma here. Days of slow and then not capitalizing the of. Slow cooker recipes using simple ingredients and step-by-step guidance for beginners who want effortless flavor and no kitchen stress. So overall, subtitle is great. I think it's high quality. It feels like you put a lot of research and thought into that. And there's a lot of good keywords in it. Nothing feels spammy and no keyword stuffing. It's slightly long, but I'm happy with it. So let's look at the cover here. So we can see that we have some images, which is awesome. I like the text placements. I like that we're showing a crock pot and then extra content included. That I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. So that would be my only question. Maybe there could be a better wording or different wording for something that's more clear. 2,200 days recipes with easy to find ingredients. So I think easy to find ingredients is also a really important keyword for a cookbook like this, because usually people want things that are easy to make and ingredients that are easy to find in most grocery shops. So that's also good. And 30 days easy meal plan. So that's good. One slight thing here would be that the easy meal plan text is a little bit thin in the font weight, so maybe make that slightly bolder so it's easier to read. And the addition here is not capitalized, so that's one thing I would change. And then for beginners, in the cursive with this gradient font from yellow to white, I don't think I like it the most here. Maybe a solid yellow would look better. I just feel like it's not as nice looking as the crock pot here. I feel like it looks really good here because the letters are bigger, but then when it's smaller, I don't like it as much. So personal preference, but try it as just yellow to see if that looks better. If not, you can also leave it, but that's just one quick thought. But overall, I think you did great. I like all the images that are shown, so that's really cool. And the composition looks good. So I'm just going to look at our Titans AI competitor. And while that's loading, we can also see that your listing has a score of 58 and it's in the green. So we're already definitely on the right track. But obviously, the closer you get to 100, the better. But anything in the green is already decent. So good job for getting a good score. So here we're just going to look at your competitors. And here we have a crock pot. I guess all of these are different, not crock pot related. And then comparing yours to theirs, I feel like yours stands out more, kind of looks nicer overall. So I think you did good there. I just want to quickly see what our Titans AI tool says about your cover. And just in case you're curious, you can get this Chrome extension by clicking on the all-in-one extension on selfpublishingtitans.com. And that is what we're using here. So it says the abundance of text in multiple font styles make the cover feel somewhat cluttered, which could affect readability and quick comprehension in thumbnail view. So thumbnail view, that's the main reason I wanted to also look at this. Here we can see that this text below the 30 days is impossible to read. So that's one improvement we can make. And then it says here, simplifying the text elements and reducing the number of different fonts would improve clarity. So interesting suggestion. Obviously, not everything that's suggested makes it better. It also depends on trying different things and then actually seeing what does look better. But this is something that I think is a good suggestion and should be tried. And then you can compare the before and after to see which one looks better. And then under the opportunity here, it says to elevate the cover's performance, streamlining the overall layout by grouping key information and using consistent font style could enhance professionalism and appeal. Additionally, incorporating a subtle visual cue or icon that highlights the for beginners aspect could further attract a target audience looking for easy to follow crockpot recipes. So that's a minor suggestion here. And let's just, for fun, also look at our Titans AI title suggestion here. So it says opportunity. The title is excessively long and cluttered, which may overwhelm potential buyers and reduce readability. Simplifying the title and dividing benefits between title and subtitle could improve clarity and memorability. So I didn't feel like it was cluttered myself, but I do agree that it was very long. So having a slightly shorter title can sometimes be beneficial because it's also easier for the user to see what the book is about. And then the one thing about having too long of a title is that it could confuse the Amazon search algorithm by having too many keywords in it and too many niches, and it's kind of spreading too thin. But I think your title is mostly good and just slightly long. That would be my personal critique. Here's an example title. Let's see what our Titans AI says. So super easy crockpot Cookbook for Beginners, so that's the title. And then the subtitle, 2,200 Simple Slow Cooker Recipes with Step-by-Step Guidance for Effortless Flavor and No Kitchen Stress. So interesting thought there, but I do like the different words you have in there, so that is fine. So here we can see the bestseller rank charts. So you are getting consistent sales, which is great. And looks like you just increased your price recently, which is good. So you have A+ content, which is awesome. So great job for doing that. Busy life, tired of takeouts. This cookbook is your daily lifesaver. I like the text. The only thing here, I see berries, but that's something you don't put in a crock pot. So that's something that you could replace with an actual meal that you would cook. And here, designed for beginners, time-saving tips, accessible ingredients. So here, one thing I noticed is that you capitalized all the words except beginners. So I would just fix that slight inconsistency here. And I'm not really the biggest fan of the background here. I would either make it a solid color or try something else, but I didn't really like that transparency too much. I feel like that could be improved slightly, but I like the image. I like that your cookbook is right in the center, showing more recipes. So I think you're doing a great job. Really feels like you put in a lot of effort. And in here, this looks like a hardcover edition. And in here, we can see more. Looking at this, I like that you're highlighting the weekly grocery list. I don't think that the shopping list icon here is needed. I feel like without that, it would look even nicer because now you're kind of covering up the nice page design. 30-day meal plan, I like that. I like that you're showing the interior here as well. Really, really good. I like this image. I like that you have a lifestyle image showing someone using the book. And then my only thought here is that this style kind of feels almost like it was made in like paint or something. So I would change the background image and the alignment. It's just slightly off center, so it's really close to the top, but then a lot of space in the bottom. So I'll just center it a bit more. And then here we have a period, but then on these three we don't. So just a slight discrepancy. Maybe you can use the same kind of color as from here, just to have more consistency with the A+ content. But overall, I do think you have great A+ content. These are just minor critiques, smaller improvements. Great job for having editorial reviews. That's awesome. Let's look at your categories. So we have slow cooker recipes. Good job on that. Quick and easy cooking, also really good. And then diets and weight loss, that's okay. Maybe is potentially a better category. That's one thing we could look at. But the first two I think are awesome. And this one could be fine too, but just something worth checking to see if there's one that's even more fitting. Here we have a great picture. I like that you're showing yourself and one of the meals. So that's really cool. And then we have a description here as well about yourself, and it's really long, so that's awesome. So overall, I think you're doing great. I like your listing. I like that you have reviews. Looks like your reviews are all mostly positive. We have 4.8 stars. So you're definitely on the right track. So one thing on the back cover, we could show some recipes or some finished meals just to make it even more exciting. That could be one further slight improvement. But overall, I think you're doing great. Most of my critiques were smaller mentions that could just stack up to bigger improvements. But I think you have a good journey ahead of you. I think keep making more books, keep creating with Amazon KDP. You're definitely on the right track already. And yeah, wish you the best of luck. And let's check the next one. All right, so here, big contrast to this one. So we have no sales ever. And I'm not sure what this book is about. So looking at the cover, it's not really clear. And here it says mask off, remember who you are. So it sounds like it's a high content book, but the title and the subtitle not really descriptive, at least to me. So looking at the cover, I like the image in the background, but I don't like the way the text is placed on it. And I'm not really the biggest fan of the colors either. I feel like maybe we can have a different filter on that background image and then placing the text in a different way. And then I'm not sure what that is all about. So I think that's one thing that could be changed as well. Okay, let's look at your description just so I know what this book is about. So your soul knows who you really are. It is just covered by masks that are based on fears, and fears keep you in place. Man is an evolutionary being, but in order to evolve, he needs to know who he is. So who are you when the masks fall? When everything you think you have is taken away, who's left there? When no one calls you by name, who are you? So I feel like that's kind of poetic, but not as descriptive as I would like it. I guess I'm just talking from my own point of view now as a shopper. So when I'm looking at buying something, I definitely want really clear bullet points of what the book is about or what the product is about, just in general speaking now. And here we also don't have any bullet points. And I also don't feel like I really know what I would gain out of this book. I mean, I understand the description now, so we're talking about who you are and a different mask on you and taking those off. But I would want to know, like, where does this journey take me? What is the result of reading this book? What is the before and after? You know, just those kinds of thoughts. So it's easy. Like if you were to sell this book to a person and you only had 5 short sentences you're allowed to tell the person, what would those 5 things be? And once you figured that out, put those as your bullet points. And I think that would really improve your listing. And since this seems to be a high content book and we don't have any keywords in your title and subtitle, which is fine for these kinds of books, we definitely have to be really, really certain that we have a strong 7 backend keywords, which is really, really important because otherwise Amazon has no clue what your book is about. Really important. And in here, so we have no A+ content, which is unfortunate. So I would like to see you doing that. And once again, think with what a potential buyer might want to see, might want to read, or figure out about your book, and that's what you should put in there. Don't see any categories. And here we don't have an author profile image and no description. We do have 1 verified review, so that's cool. But overall, just the listing feels incomplete. We definitely need to improve the cover a bit. The title is what it is, but the description, we want to make it more clear. Definitely have 5 bullet points. You definitely want to have A+ content and definitely want to have your author profile section done as well. So feel free to make all of those changes. I'd be interested to see your book again updated and then see where we go from there. And I do wish you the best of luck. All right, so here we have the next book, Uniforms and Insignia of German Army, 1933 to 1945. So this is an interesting book for English people. I am German myself, born and raised in Germany. So this is cool to see. The cover looks interesting. I like the textile background. This all looks quite cool. My only thought here would be maybe cool to somehow incorporate a German flag just to make it even more clear that this is a German book. I think that could be cool. But otherwise, I think the whole cover looks really creative. So with the title, for some reason, it's showing complete duplicate in brackets. So that's one thing that I don't like. There's no need to have an exact duplicate of your keywords. Kind of just feels odd and unnecessary. And then we obviously don't have any main keywords here. So I feel like that's one thing that's maybe a slight miss. I feel like for this kinds of book, maybe we could have like the word history in it or something that's searched for or some keywords around this time period. But that is just one extra thought on that. And let's look at your description. So your description is 1 big paragraph. So I'm not the biggest fan of having really huge paragraphs. I like it more broken down so it's easier for a viewer to digest the information. And also we don't have any bullet points here. So for this book, I'm sure you can think of many cool bullet points. And then I would put that just below this line right here, just to make it even easier for potential buyers to see what this book is about. Looks like this is a really highly detailed book with almost 250 pages, so that's really cool. I like how much effort you put into it. And I like that you're showing some examples in your back cover, so that's a good utilization of that. So you're definitely doing that right. Looking at your A+ content, we don't have anything. Okay, so that's a big missed opportunity, especially for all of that. So you could definitely show some uniforms and insignia in your A+ content and just show off your high quality work. And then you definitely want to have a profile picture and a description. And then we have no reviews. So reviews is definitely really important. And if you're struggling with getting your first readers, you can check out our ARC review service that we launched recently, or check out any other alternative, but you definitely want to start getting reviews. So that would be my feedback for you. And since there's no main keywords here, you definitely want to have strong 7 backend keywords so Amazon knows what your book is about and knows what to rank you for. So I hope that this was helpful for you. And if you want more free daily training, subscribe to this channel. I post videos every single day. And if you want to support this channel, just leave a like and a comment down below. That is always appreciated. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.